Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 4 dropped recently, and it's quite clear for the fans to see that it was one of the most intense chapters that fans have got to witness. Following the return of the series, this month's chapter was packed with information and at the same time, it covered groundbreaking events, which can easily be labeled as the most shocking ones since the series has returned. In the latest chapters, we saw Boruto using the Flying Raijin, and thus fans have been curious about this one. Question in particular, how did Boruto learn the Flying Raijin technique? Well, this is what we have been curious about as well, and thus we have come up with our own speculation about how Boruto managed to learn this lost technique. Before we dive into the speculation about how Boruto managed to learn it, let us take a look at what the technique is indeed about. This technique was originally developed by the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, which allows the user to use space-time ninjutsu to teleport from one place to another at an instant. This technique is used by making the user create a formula before they have to teleport to the place where they have left their mark. This could essentially mean that one has to be at the place to leave their marking in some sort of seal or, any kind of form, right? Like how Boruto used a Konoha leaf batch in order to use Flying Raijin, something similar to that. The former user, Minato Namikaze, particularly used seals for this technique and has become the fastest shinobi to ever live. Ever since Minato, no one has ever managed to learn this technique and even attempted to do it. Until the latest chapter, we saw Boruto use it for a very good reasons. Boruto Uzumaki went on a 3-year time skip training at the end of Boruto Part 1. Fans got to see Boruto depart from the village with Sasuke and vow to get stronger. Unfortunately, fans have not seen any of their training just yet. That said, fans do know that Boruto has grown tremendously strong and powerful. At some point, Boruto also managed to learn the Flying Thunder God technique, and this jutsu certainly gives him more versatile in combat. The story doesn't explain how Boruto learned this jutsu. Fans don't even know how exactly or who exactly taught him. However, it can only be either Sasuke or Kashin Koji. Boruto used this technique for the first time recently and managed to teleport right in front of Kawaki to the pocket dimension of Code. Normally, it should have been impossible for Boruto to reach this place. However, it appears that Boruto has a mark on Code that at least lets him teleport to him instantaneously. This could explain how Boruto was able to teleport to Code and step on his face at the first chapter of the sequel manga. Curiously, Boruto did mention that he isn't as proficient in this technique as his grandfather just yet. Boruto is still a young ninja, and for him to master the Flying Thunder God technique is just not possible just quite yet. That said, Boruto does possess decent skill with this technique. He needs to just focus a quite little bit in order to locate his targets or the seal, or in this case, batch of Konoha that he left pretty far away, as we do know that Minato can sense things instantaneously in order to teleport. Boruto just needs to get to that level, is what I'm trying to say. But the real question is, how in the world did Boruto learn this technique? You see, the Flying Raijin technique has been in Konoha village only, as we saw no one else would have taught Boruto beside them. Given that Boruto is currently a traitor to the village, no one would have taught him because, well, he's a traitor and the most wanted criminal currently in the world, wanted by every single village, including Konoha. But there's one master shinobi from Konoha village that is a fan favorite, and that is Sasuke Uchiha. It is very simple to land on this answer because for the reasons that were simply mentioned earlier. We are not sure if Sasuke indeed knows the technique or is just using it, but ever since he lost his Rinnegan, Sasuke has lost his teleportation technique and he must have tracked it thanks to his Sharingan. During the time skip, Sasuke must have taught Boruto this technique, and as we learn from Kakashi, that Boruto strongly inherited the 4th Hokage's genes and techniques. There is no other reason we could not see that he would have managed to learn this technique from a copy when Boruto managed to learn a very strong technique. The second theory is Kashin Koji taught it to Boruto. You see, Kashin Koji is the clone of Jiraiya, and may I remind you, Jiraiya was the same man who taught Minato, and Jiraiya must have overlooked Minato's training when he learned the flying Raijin, similar to when he was looking over Minato's training when he learned the Rasengan. And Kashin Koji might have some memories of that. I know what you might be confused right now. How will Koji have the memory of teaching, Minato anything, I guess? And the answer to that is simple. You see, it was hinted various times to us that Kashin Koji to retain some of Jiraiya's memories, and that is the reason why he was able to hide in Konoha so well, because he already knew which were the best place to hide in the village because of Jiraiya's memories. And this would really start to make sense, as it was stated that Boruto is just like his grandfather, aka Minato. Minato also had to start learning somewhere to learn the flying Raijin. Like maybe Jiraiya told Minato the basics of the technique, as Jiraiya himself, despite having a good knowledge of the technique, couldn't perform it. But he told Minato about it, and Minato, being the genius he is, would have figured out exactly what he needed to do in order to master the flying Raijin technique and even make it better. And the same would have applied to Boruto, as Kashin Koji would have told Boruto the basics of the technique, and Boruto would have learned the techniques, especially since he would have sort of a reference for this technique with Code's claws, as the technique that Code uses is an upgraded version of the Flying Thunder God, as the Flying Thunder God only has one advantage, and that is it is instantaneous, and Code has to go through the claws in order to teleport, making the Flying Raijin just superior in terms of speed. But I do prefer the Sasuke learning the Flying Thunder God technique better, because it would be a perfect replacement for the Rinnegan, as it could somewhat replace Amanitose Kara, and of course traveling through dimensions, so him learning Flying Raijin and teaching it to Boruto is not too far-fetched. But again, who am I to say how Boruto learned the Flying Raijin? But you guys, what do you guys think? How did Boruto learn the Flying Raijin, and who taught it to him? Comment down below, and while you're down there, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more Boruto content. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace! Imagine Boruto went back in time and learned the Flying Thunder God from Minato. Man, that would be the coolest thing I've ever seen in the manga.